Hi, Andy. My name is Ellen, and I will be correcting these essays for you today. It's great to see that you've started the course. I'm really looking forward to seeing your writing, so let's get right into it and see what you wrote. Schools should be more entertaining. Let's see. Okay. I do think that schools should be more entertaining. This is mainly because it creates a relaxed environment where pupils can learn easier. A recent study showed that when people are stressed, they remember 36% less information compared to a relaxed state. Therefore, when learning experience in schools will be more fun, they will also be more effective. All right, so my first question to you is where is your introduction? You've got 3 paragraphs here. So you've got your body paragraph, you've got your second body paragraph, and you've got your conclusion. You need an introduction. And in the introduction, you will rephrase the topic and you will give your position. Your position is the answer to whatever question or kind of dilemma they have set forth for you. So that was missing. And without an introduction, you're not going to be able to score any higher than a 5 on coherence and cohesion. So that's a really important part of your essay. Okay. And if you look at the template again, you'll see that there's a really solid recommendation on how to do this. All right. So that's the first thing I want to mention. Let's see. Another thing that I would like to see here is a little more development. This is a good start. I can see that you're using the template, and that's great. But you do need to do a little more writing here. Let me tell you what I mean. So, this sentence here, I do think that schools should be more entertaining. You you probably should have expressed this in your introduction. So, you wouldn't need to write it like that in your body paragraph. So instead, you could do something like there are numerous reasons why schools should be more entertaining. Okay. And then you can say, um, this is mainly because it creates a relaxed environment. Fine. A recent study showed that when people are stressed, okay, fine, less information compared to a relaxed state. Therefore, comma, when the learning experience will be more, no, not when, okay. So look, a little bit of grammar here. When you have when, you can't have future tense. So it should be when the learning experience in schools is more fun, it will also be more effective. Okay. So that's fine for a start. Like I said, I would like a little more information here. I think some of your sentences, potentially as you continue in the course, can be a little longer. Maybe you can add another piece of information. For example, maybe you can give us an example of um, what kind of entertainment schools can provide. So maybe you could talk about role plays. Maybe you could talk about like memory games or maybe even showing movies in class. So maybe you could give us just a little more information here so that you're developing your ideas a little further. All right, let's look at your next paragraph. I agree the sole purpose of school is to educate simply because that is the main goal, to educate the children and help them to become successful adults. In a recent United Nations survey, over 89% of people strongly agree that education is the single most important factor in raising, get rid of up, in raising capable future generations. This means that the capability of schools to educate is directly linked to the future well-being of our children and our nation. Okay. Again, it's a little brief, but it's nicely written. Now let me tell you what my other concern is. So look at this. You started this. I think schools should be more entertaining. I agree. So now, as an examiner, I'm confused. I'm wondering, well, what is your position? And so this, more than anything else, should explain why the introduction is so important. In the introduction, you would lay out which ideas you agree with, what you don't agree with, or maybe you're in the middle somewhere. So it sounds to me like your position should have probably been something like, um, while the sole purpose of school is to educate our children, this could be done more effectively uh, if there is more entertainment during the school day. Okay, so something like that, but that's something you would have laid out in your introduction. Okay. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, comma, I agree with both claims. Schools should be more entertaining to raise the learning effectiveness. Okay, now I think some of these sentences are a little choppy. Look at this. Period here. Schools should have the education. Now, where is the contrast? I'd like to see some linkers that show contrast in these ideas. So, to conclude from the examples and arguments given, comma, I agree with both claims. Schools should be more entertaining to raise the learning effectiveness. However, they should also have education set as the main goal to achieve. Okay, that makes for a much more cohesive sentence. In the future, comma, it is predicted that teaching facilities will improve their schooling capabilities, and IT could play a vital role in this process. Okay, so fine, good. I now I know that in the template it is suggested that you have a future prediction, and I think that's great. It's a nice way to end off your essay. However, here you got a little specific, and it feels like you're introducing a new idea. In your conclusion, you don't want to introduce any new ideas. If you thought that AIT could play a vital role, then you should have mentioned that here. Remember how I told you I thought you needed more development in your body paragraphs? Well, that's exactly where you could have added this idea. You could have said something like, one way that schools could do this is by providing children the opportunity to play computer games in the classroom. Or I don't know, something else, like let kids, um, I don't know, maybe meet online in the classroom with a classroom in another country, another city, another continent, who knows? Okay. And discuss whatever the topic they're talking about. That could be entertaining. That could be fun and interesting. So, yeah, this idea about IT doesn't really belong here since it's a new idea, and it really should have gone up here and you could have developed and it would have been great. All right, so it's a nice start. Your grammar is fine. The vocabulary is fine. All right, I really would like to see more before I tell you um, some more specifics. I think it's the best word I can use for both the vocabulary and the grammar is that it's safe. I'd like to know what score it is you need, because if you need a 7 or higher, then you're going to want to use some more higher level, more kind of advanced vocabulary. And we'll talk about that as you continue in the course, okay? All right, so let's take a look at your second essay. All right, again, 3 paragraphs, so you're missing an introduction, so the same problem with the first one. Doing a fun activity with children, in my opinion, develops their skill set more easily and kicks their creative side in a different way than reading. Okay. A recent Harvard study proves that children that enjoy the sport they chose perform much better than children that do sports they don't particularly like. Okay, I don't think that that's what's being discussed here, liking something versus not liking something, even though it's the same thing. Therefore, the fun element and enjoyment of any activity transmits to the faster development of a particular skill. Okay, so here, Andy, you really need to do a little more work. So the skill set, great. Well, let's talk about that skill set. And you said the creative side. So rather than just going to this, maybe you could give me a specific idea. For example, you could say, hand-eye coordination and creativity are enhanced through drawing. Okay, so you could say children can create things that they imagine, which develops their creativity, and holding a pencil, a paintbrush, or a crayon can develop dexterity in the hand that could not be accomplished through reading. Okay. And then you could give us a Harvard study. Obviously, not this one. So, if you want to talk about sport, for example, you could have said, sports allow children to develop gross motor skills and develop a sense of sportsmanship. Then you could say, soccer, tennis, and I don't know, soccer, tennis, and God, what do kids play? Basketball can allow children to get both physically fit, but also be more flexible and dexterous. I don't know. It also allows them to learn how to lose appropriately while also developing the skills of teamwork and competitiveness. These are skills which could not be gained through reading alone. And then again, you could write the thing about Harvard. So, regarding the study, you could say a recent Harvard study showed that children that play sport performed much better on group activities at school than children who only read. Okay, so then you've got the study that supports everything we talked about the teamwork element of sports. Okay, so this is the kind of development I want to see here in this essay. Let's look at the next paragraph. Reading with children is important. Okay, now here, what you're doing is you're switching sides. You're talking about the value of reading. Therefore, you really need to have a linker that shows you're contrasting. So, for example, you could have just started with a however, or you could have done this. You could have started with a on the one hand here, and then you could have started on the other hand here. So let's do that. On the other hand, reading with children is an important activity to do with your sons and daughters, and in my opinion, um, also activates the creative side because you said reading. So when you do that, it's kind of like, and reading also activates. Now, rather than going straight to this Oxford study, maybe you could have developed this idea just a little more. Okay. Let me read what you wrote and then we'll talk about it. A recent Oxford study shows that children have a bigger imagination and can solve more issues more creatively when they have been read books in their childhood. Therefore, or thus, you could have said, there is a link between reading books to your child and their creative skills. Less so other. All right. I don't know why you've added this. It doesn't help your argument, so maybe you could have left it out. Okay. So rather than putting everything into this Oxford sentence, maybe you could have said, in my opinion, it also activates the creative side. Children who are read to have been shown to have a bigger imagination as they can fantasize about the characters, about the setting, and I don't know. It's hard to do this when you do it aloud. When you write it, it's a lot easier. So they can fantasize about the characters and imagine what they look like, what they sound like, as well as the settings. Okay. And then you could say a recent Harvard study, or no, a recent Oxford study supports this, showing that children not only have a greater imagination, but also solve issues more creatively. Okay. Than children who were not read to. So again, it just needs a little extra. All right, let's take a look at your conclusion. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, comma, I strongly agree that an enjoyable activity with your little ones promotes growth of their skills and creativity. When it comes to reading, comma, it does have an effect on creativity and imagination, less so manual skills. All right, again, I don't love this because it weakens your argument. In the future, it is predicted that robots will play an important role in raising children. All right, again, here you've introduced a totally different idea that really doesn't belong here. You didn't mention anything about robots in either of your body paragraphs. And so it's probably best to leave it out, okay? Maybe instead what you could have said is, again, you want to do something, yes, that's a prediction, but relates back to what you have talked about. So maybe in the future, it is predicted that parents will emphasize um, a variety of experiences rather than just one for their children. Okay? So that links back to what you said about the importance of both. All right. So, Andy, I hope that the feedback in this essay set has been helpful. I hope you understand what needs to be worked on a little bit and what is expected. The most important thing for me is your introduction. You need to have an introduction in your essays. And then some of the stuff about development as well as cohesion, coherence and cohesion. Well, the cohesion part, as far as you're concerned, because you were missing some cohesive devices here. All right, so go ahead and correct these based on the suggestions in this video. Send them back to us, and with those corrections, send a new set of essays, and don't forget about your error correction list. Okay, I'll be waiting for them, so good luck to you.